Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where dad is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. This is your show. The phone number is 888-825-5225. Note to self, don't open up Twitter right before you go on the air for a new hour of the show, because I enter the show laughing at this guy posting his bass boat for sale ad, $56,000 or best offer, need gone as soon as possible, only 35 hours on it, covered and stored inside, Mercury 250 Pro XS engine. I'm selling it because it was purchased without the proper consent of loving wife. Apparently, do whatever the F you want to do doesn't mean what I thought. Oh, yeah, you got to learn to speak wife, son. Oh, my gosh. Oh, okay. There you go. Just in case you were wondering. You know, that is a funny way to bring up a real solid financial principle. Here's a solid financial principle. All the data points that we have with millionaires tell us that the millionaires that are married have good communication lines and agreed value systems with their spouses. Very few millionaires become millionaires dragging a reluctant spouse behind, where the wife is super competent and confident with money, but her husband doesn't care and she just drags him along. Or vice versa, where the husband's got everything together and he's dragging this princess with him. You know, it doesn't work. These are two grown-ups that are working together, making decisions together. That's what all the data points tell us. Of course, that's Sharon's and my experience, too. I mean, grown-ups sometimes fight. We about kill each other sometimes, but, you know, have a good hillbilly fight, right? But we at least communicate, and we have a rule. See, when I went broke the first time, I kind of was like the guy with the bass boat. I bought a whole bunch of real estate, and Sharon kept saying, you know, I got a bad feeling about this. And I'm like, yeah, you got a home ec degree. You're home with the kids. You take care of the kids. That's your job. I got this business thing. I got this. As I was driving my car off the bridge, right? Right? And so I look back on it, and I go, you know, she kept saying bridge out, bridge out, bridge out. And I wasn't listening, right? And then I started learning these biblical financial principles. And here's a biblical financial principle for you. Are you ready? Proverbs 31. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, and he will have no lack of gain. A financial principle, and all the data points of millionaire studies indicate this. A good financial principle is that people learn to work together with their spouse, and men, listen to your wife. Sometimes when she has a feeling, that's actually God saying, don't do it, stupid. Now, sometimes she's just, you know, had bad pizza. She's like anybody else, right? But sometimes she's just a fraidy cat. Sometimes she's got a feeling, and it's called wisdom. And so Sharon and I do not do large purchases, make big decisions, including large gifts in our charitable giving that we're not in agreement on. If I'm really kind of got a weak spot for these people, this situation, I think this is a good thing. Sharon goes, you know, I just don't feel good about those folk. Then we don't give. In case of a, you know, if we both have a vote, and in case of a tie, we don't. And so she's like, I really want to do this trip. And I'm like, you know, I don't feel good about this trip. And we don't go. When in doubt, don't. And the two of us are in agreement. When one of us violates that, it costs us money almost every time. Or sorrow. The blessings of the Lord have no sorrow added to them. You ever bought something and you were really sorry you did it? You get home the next morning, you go, what did I do? You have buyer's remorse. I can't believe I was so stupid. I bought that thing. You know? Well, you don't do that if you're married and you have a virtuous spouse. Now, virtue involves understanding that you're not, you know, you're not the Holy Spirit. That's not your job. It involves understanding and having some humility with the discussion that you could be wrong, but you'd have this feeling and you speak up and you talk about the feeling. Say, I don't feel good about this. There's all kinds of data points that say that causes you to win. Listen, I quit doing it after I went broke. And it's not because I'm a wuss and not because my wife's in charge of me or something like that. It's because I respect her opinion that much, and I think it's a biblical principle to listen to a virtuous wife. And so she's not in charge of me. I'm not a little wimp or something like that. But when she feels strongly about something, I really sit up and listen to that. Big time. Every time I go against one of her feelings, it costs me at least $10,000. So I just quit doing it. And all the data points in these millionaire studies and stuff we're doing indicate the same thing is going on with these couples that win with money. And what's interesting is this stuff is inextricably woven into each other too, because Jesus said your treasure is where your heart is. And so when you agree on your money, you agree on your spending, you're really agreeing on and combining your value system. You're saying this is who we are as a unified couple. We have a marriage mission statement in our values. Our core values are on the wall, even though you didn't write them there. But we're in agreement on those, and there's unity. And I see that consistently. I mean, you can't out-earn your stupidity, and you can't out-earn your spouse's stupidity. There's no budget in the world, no class in the world that will allow you to drag somebody who's bent on spending like they're in Congress into wealth. You can't do it. I mean, I think this is what causes people to have such fights and divorces over money, because they both feel strongly about one of them being immature and one of them spending everything and one of them being irresponsible. And then the other one is like Mr. or Mrs. Responsibility and grown up. And it just causes unbelievable conflict. That's why it's such a good idea to deal with marriage or deal with financial issues in pre-marriage as well, pre-marriage counseling. A lot of people go through Financial Peace University as part of their pre-marriage counseling because it forces you to talk about these issues. And it's the number one thing in marriage. And oddly enough, a quality marriage is probably one of the top principles involved in being able to build wealth. See how they're inextricably woven into each other? This is real. The old boy with the bass boat's a pretty funny line, though. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.